Welcome to the channel, man. This is Big Reptile Talk. I'm Big Derek. We got Big Dion in the building, aka Mr. Reptiliaus himself, man. How you doing today, brother?
Hey, Derek, I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Man, it's a honor, man. So today I really just kind of want to pick your brain because I feel like you one of the dopest out there in Canada, man.
Uh,
Um, Talk to me about the name, man. Reptiliatus. How did you come up with that?
yeah, so I guess a lot of people don't know I've had my channel now for, oh, I started in 2009. So it's been a long journey. And at the time, I was, I guess, learning about breeding reptiles and crested geckos were like the easy species to start with. And that's what I was doing. And you'll know, like, their species name is Ciliatus. Right? So I think at the time I was trying to come up with the channel name, and I kind of like to play on Latin. So I was like, okay, well, reptiles, and then some Latin in there. So I was like, Reptiliatus. That's honestly just how I came up with it and stuck with it since.
That name that's a dope. I was like Reptiliatus. That's a good name, man. That's
Thanks.
a good
Appreciate
reptile
it.
name.
Yeah.
Now you have so many animals. I've followed your YouTube. I've followed your Instagram.
Thank you.
Approximately how many animals do you think you have in your collection?
Uh, it's tricky now. How specific do we want to be? Because when you got bins of different types of isopod and things like that, we could be talking thousands here. But I mean, as far as reptiles and lizards go, I have a little over 40. Now, the reason why I'm not giving an exact number is because, like, literally a day or two ago, I just hatched some crested geckos, and I have more hatching, some lychees and things like that. So the number is always changing. But yeah, like, for reptiles, it's about 40 to 60, and there's loads of eggs I'm excited about hatching this year. And then with the invertebrates, there's quite a few. Like, for the isopods, obviously it's thousands, because I have like over, I think, about like 18 to 24 different cultures of isopod, and then nearly 100 tarantulas, for example, a few different kinds of scorpion. I really love to indulge and learn about all the different kind of specialty pets and such, right? So, um, and then share that passion with the world. So, I used to have a lot less animals, but since I kind of took on this YouTube endeavor as a full-time job, which is super cool, it's allowed me to I guess get more animals because I have way more time to put towards their proper care and husbandry.
Okay, I love that answer. Now, when I was watching some of your YouTube videos, man, some of your setups, your vivarium, your terrarium, your tank setups, they're amazing, man. So who do are you self-taught or who inspires you with your tank setups? Do you watch a little bit of Surfer Design? Who's teaching you how to set them tanks up, man?
Okay, so honestly, I mean, just through trial and error, I've done a bit of that, and it's always funny to like look at your first, like, for example, custom backgrounds. Just have a good laugh how most of it's foam because it like engulfed the bark and stuff. But definitely Tanner is one of the big inspirations. He's such a nice guy. I've had the pleasure of chatting with him a few times, and he's always down to just have a good conversation and be helpful. And I remember, yeah, like, even just he's always yeah, he's always just happy to help. Essentially, he always encouraged me to try drilling tanks because it's so much easier with paludarium setup. So I'm too scared to do it. He's like, man, just hop on FaceTime or whatever, and I'll help you with it. But so, like, even just that attitude is just so nice because it's not always the case. I think, if anything, in the reptile hobby, we're very fortunate that even the big guys, like, they're so humble. But sometimes, you get people that are so big, almost a million subscribers or more. People like Brian, even, they're so humble and they're always there to help the smaller guys. And I love that attitude. It's so awesome that we have that. So Tanner is one of those guys for sure. Yeah.
Right, right,
Big
right now.
inspiration for the enclosures.
Man, he Serpent Designs, his enclosures are insane. Will Nace, his enclosures are insane.
Yes.
Now I gotta tell you, man, like what kind of tanks are you using, man?
Okay, so I mean, It's funny, a few years ago, everybody would say, like, dude, are you sponsored by Exoterra? Because, like, you're just rocking all the Exoterras. And funny enough, now I actually am, and I'm so happy to be working with them. Yeah, like it's been a real blessing. So a lot of the tanks I use are Exoterras, but I also have, a few Zoomeds, some of the Zilla critter cages. They're pretty cool too for a lot of the crocodile skinks I'm keeping. They work really well. So those are a lot of the primary brands I use, and they work great for me. Some of the larger animals that I keep, like the green tree monitors, I'm going to be looking at creating custom builds for that. So those animals will be going to something much larger because there isn't really too much commercially available, at least in Canada, that would suit their needs as adult animals. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of Exoterra. Like, I mean, right
You
there
like the
too.
Exoterra. Well, I wouldn't
Yeah.
be me without saying you got to make sure you check out my homie Joe, man.
Yeah.
Venom Proof Cages. They got some real good cages.
Very cool. Very cool.
All right, now I have a question from the audience.
Oh yeah.
Dragon Whisper, he wants to know, when do you think you're going to be exporting some red-eye crocodile skin to the U.S.?
Yeah, that's a question I get. Like, I don't know if I'm even exaggerating to say almost daily, and it's hard to like keep up with acknowledging and addressing everybody. And I'm so grateful. Thanks for the the interest and enthusiasm in the animals and the support. Right now, the focus of the project, if you're following along, you've seen I've imported some wild caught animals because most of them unfortunately are, and it's been about acclimating them and getting them breeding. So I'm not really at a point whatsoever where I'm going to be selling any of the babies. I do have 3 right now with the parents in one of the groups. And I may have actually just hatched a 4th, I noticed, but I guess that's a sneak peek for a future video. We'll see. We'll see if that was the case. I was feeding them. I was like, there's an empty eggshell there, and I just pulled one out 3 months ago. So that sounds about right. And then I saw a little baby. So we'll see. But right now it's about growing the group and also holding on to those babies, because a lot of those you want to have as future generations. You don't know how old your wild caught animals are half the time. You also have to consider that just working with captive bred is just tenfold times easier, better in general. So my intentions are to be able to produce captive bred animals from each of those pairs that I have set up, and then probably raise them and keep back a lot of them. So not until I have a lot of surplus captive bred am I going to be looking at selling them. So I guess, yeah, the long answer there is just that I really appreciate everyone's interest in wanting those crocodile skinks, but I'm not going to be able to offer any until I make sure that what I need is there, and I can work with more captive bred first.
You hear that, Dragon Whisper? He said not for a long time till he has a whole bunch more. Yeah. He's not selling them. Now, right now in your collection, man, what's your favorite animal that you got?
Oh, that's not a fair question.
He's like, shit, all of them.
Well, no, I mean, they all have different attributes and characteristics that I really appreciate. But I mean, man, it truly, like I said it comically, but it is challenging to decide. I have to say, like, ever since I started keeping the green tree monitors, those are such cool animals. Like, I always kick myself thinking, why did I wait this long to keep Varanids? Like, they're so intelligent and inquisitive, and I mean, the way they behave, it really gives them a sense of personality too. And like, they have personality even between the two. So I have a male and a female, and between the two, I got Basil over there, who's the one, it's mirrored, that tank. And he's a lot more shy. We're working on that, and that's something you'll see in the channel or on the channel. But Sabzi, the female, she's a whole other animal. Comes out right away. She wants to come out when she sees me, crawls up on my shoulder, hangs out a bit, and hand feeds, everything. So they're really cool animals to work with, super intelligent, and it creates a really enjoyable experience. But that's not to say I don't love like the tokay geckos, the cresties, the crocodile skinks, the leaf-tailed geckos. Are big passions of mine as well.
Right. Yeah. Now, what do you think the worst bite you took in your collection is right now? Do you think it's the red-eye crocodile skin?
I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a ninja or anything, but I haven't taken many bites. Like, I'm pretty quick. I don't let them get me. I've had the odd time where I'm like trying to pair up some tarantulas or something, and out of nowhere. I mean, you expect it, you got to be ready, but like one of them will just bolt, and then the other one was trying to instigate like an aggressive response. Like that's usually one of the risky times you can risk getting bitten. I'm ready. I just pull away. I save the male, like, you know. But no, with the reptiles, sure, I've taken a few random bites. Like I've been bit by like a juvenile tokay gecko or something, and I hate to say that's probably one of the worst bites I've taken like in my own collection because it's a joke. It didn't even break the skin. The crocodile skinks actually do pack a punch for pressure. I've never been bit by my lychees. They would probably be pretty brutal. I have the Chinese crocodile lizards, which are super cool animals. They've tried, didn't get bit. So, I mean, knock on wood, I'm doing pretty solid so far for keeping away from the bites. I think as far as like my entire experience in the hobby goes, working retail as a reptile manager at a local pet shop, I did once get tagged by a green tree python. And I mean, that was not an enjoyable experience. I think it's next to the emerald tree boas. They have like some of the longest non-venomous snake teeth. So it wasn't that bad. It was a juvenile, thankfully, but maybe that would be my worst bite. I don't know.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
I thought that tokay geckos bites were insane because I've seen some videos of them biting, and you could actually hear them snapping like that, like the adult ones.
Yeah. Well, it all depends on how you interact with the animals too. Like there are times where you need to forcibly move them out, but I do my best to like create opportunities for them to do what I need them to do on their own terms. So for example, you'll see me with the crocodile lizards. Right now I'm doing kind of like, I don't know if I'll call it a series, but I've been taking them to the vet to get ultrasounds. And they're not animals that like to be held ever. Like they hate it. So what I do is I actually lure them out into the containers to transport them with food. So I'll put like a giant night crawler in there and they'll crawl right out into the bin and I close the lid. So it's way less stressful. But like, yeah, with the tokay geckos, man, they could have a nasty bite if you have to forcibly handle them. But with my guys, usually whenever I'm working with them, I just try and get them to be where I need them to be with food instead of trying to grab them. Because I feel like overall that just helps them feel safe, means you're going to be safe. And it all works out in the end, right? So,
right.
But that's also the main reason I've never actually received a bad bite from a tokay gecko. Like the only time it's happened was me trying to hand feed the juvenile, just missed the superworm and tagged my finger, but let go right away. So it really wasn't that bad. But the big guys, sure, like they have some serious pressure for a gecko, bite pressure, force. But yeah, it's not something I've experienced. So
right. Yeah. Now, this is a two-part question, and it is not to brag or boast, but this is for inspiration, man.
Sure.
So I'm a small YouTuber, man. I want to know two questions. How does it feel to have that 120,000 subscribers? And not just that, do you realize that your channel has over 13 million views?
Yeah, so I mean, I will say, unless I missed something, I don't think I'm quite at the 120 yet.
You're almost
but
there, though, brother.
Yeah, well, you're very kind. Yeah, no, like it's as we were discussing prior to the stream, it's incredibly humbling, and I think my audience recognizes. I certainly hope that I try to carry myself with a certain level of humility always. I'm so appreciative of everybody that's chosen to follow along this journey and just watch me share and express my passion for this amazing hobby and interest that we all have and share. So, I mean, just through the growth, watching that amount of people just have the desire to follow along, see what I'm doing, it's surreal. It's just really something so special. And one of the things I pride myself so much in is just that community that we're building. Like I don't really give it a name, but I always refer to it as our community, and it's really encouraging and nice to see that it sort of, it's like a breeding ground for positivity. And I always love seeing my viewers like comment on each other's questions and help each other out and say nice things, and just to know that that's a safe space where people do that's pretty awesome. So I mean, yeah, it's super humbling, man, like I said. And even like the amount of views sometimes in my head, I think Adam was saying the same thing. Like even with the amount of views you have, it's you can compare it to like cities and stuff like that, like the population of cities. So when I'm sitting there going, holy 13 million views, like that's insane. I mean, we have like 37 million people in Canada. And like that's not the biggest population in comparison to you guys, but like even just knowing that many people have watched the channel or any of the content, it's just unbelievable. I'm so excited to see what is to come. But I always say like it's thanks to you guys, thanks to the viewers, that I'm able to do what I'm doing. I'm glad you guys like the content, but it's all thanks to you.
I'm excited for you, man. I can't wait to see what you do in the future. Now, I'm a small YouTuber and I want to follow in your footsteps. Can you give me some small YouTuber advice?
Sure. So I always refer to the algorithm as a creature. Like it's an unpredictable creature. It's hard to know. Like for me, I can say definitely be authentic, which I can say for sure you are, and kind of learn the game. People always bash and say, "Oh, clickbait's terrible." I think there's ways to do it where it's not overly sensational, but at the same time, people need to understand that it is part of it. You really do need to use that. I think the important part, and I think Brian Barczyk's mentioned this himself. I've heard him, and it's so true. It's about what's on the other side of that thumbnail, So sometimes people use really sensational clickbaity thumbnails, but then what are you conveying? What is the content that's being delivered afterwards when you actually click the link? It's great. So, I mean, for me, like, I think thumbnails are super important, really making a good, clean thumbnail, because that is the first thing someone's going to see when they come across your content. So that's like a make it or break it deal, really making sure that over time you work on like refining the quality of the content, and definitely consistency. I think that's something I've learned through reflection on what I'm doing. Being consistent. And a lot of people say this, but it is so important. You're way better off posting once a month than like 4 times in a week and then not again for like 2 months, So really just trying to be consistent. It doesn't have to be the same time every day, but even if you can allocate the time to post once a week, maybe choose a set day and just make sure you do that every time. And it really makes a difference with like the way the algorithm works with your content. I think those are pretty good tips, and learn about SEO, search engine optimizing, and should be good.
That's some great advice, man. And I'm gonna take it. I want to do more SEO research.
Yeah.
Now I gotta ask this, man. How did it feel unboxing that 100K plaque?
That was a really cool experience. Man, I've been through, how do I put it? I don't want to exaggerate, but blood, sweat, and tears have gone into this channel. Oh, whether it's like moving and doing all kinds of things to make certain things happen. Like it was really special to receive like a physical representation of hitting that milestone. You set these goals for yourself and you're striving so hard to achieve them through every action and endeavor you bring to fruition. You're like, I'm gonna get there, and then to get there, and then eventually after a few weeks YouTube gets themselves together and sends that thing to you. It's so special. Like, I mean, I put mine up on my wall in my house, and it's a nice reminder of just we made it, like we're there. And it's again, and as I said, like with the humility aspect, and just recognizing it's like when I look at that thing, I see all those people that watch what I do, and it's a reminder to appreciate them.
Right.
It's super cool. It's super cool, man. I'm excited for you to get there too. It'll be really great.
I'm putting in that work, man. Now,
yeah, I see that.
Shout out to Toby's Exotics. He's in the chat. He just wants you to know that you inspire him, man.
Oh man, Toby, thanks so much, brother. Nice to see you here.
Now, I gotta ask this, because we're all YouTubers, we all have reptiles.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I feel like right now you and Adam's like the MJ and Scottie Pippen over there, in Canada, man. But I gotta ask this, man. Who are some of your favorite reptile YouTubers?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, Adam's up there. He's a really nice guy. I really like I mean, I'm scared to miss anyone, but there's so many. I mean, we got like Adam, Brian, Emmeline, Samson, Brian Cusco too. So Brian Barchek. I keep just saying Brian. I have to remember there's a few of them. I really like Snake Discovery, Tyler Ruggie. Who am I missing still? Did I say Mike Taitula? Great guy. Will Nace. Oh, Nerd's pretty cool. Oh, I'm scared. I'm missing people.
Hey,
I mean,
let's just
Serpa
say
Design for
everybody.
sure. Tanner, everybody. Well, yeah, no, we just have this like amazing community. Dave Hoffman, I really like his content too. He's a really cool guy. Like his series, just like going into the wild and everything and seeing what the animals are doing there. That's something really special, and yeah, it's pretty cool. They're just we're a really incredible community, and it's one of the things I've cherished so much too is being able to connect to all these different creators. I mean, I'm a bit all over the place because I'm keeping inverts too. So I mean, I'm really close with like Richard over from like the Exotic Pet Collective, and we have also like Tarantula Cat is a good friend of mine, and Petco with Dark Den. Like there's some really cool creators on that side of the exotic hobby too.
Man, that's what's up, man. A lot of them are dope. All of them are dope creators, man. And I've had a lot of them on the channel, man.
Yeah, you have, yeah.
All of them great people, man. I've met a lot of them. Now, I always ask this in my interviews, man. Do you remember your first? Because you've had videos hit 200,000 views or 1 million views. You know, do you remember the first video that you had blow up, that you were just somewhere and all of a sudden it just kept climbing? And you do what was it?
Yeah, man, it was the how to make a natural vivarium video. It's the one that like really made me realize that if I put my mind and heart to it, which I mean I was doing, like this could really be something more than just the let me post a video here and there for fun and share my love for this hobby. Like, man, I remember I posted that video and I don't even think it was the next day. Like it might have even been the same day. That video was just exploding. I've never seen it in my life. You know, like months, years later, you'd be lucky to like refresh and see like, oh, you gained like 5 views after 20, 30 minutes, right? But I remember that video and it was blowing up. I would like refresh the page and it would go up by like 1,000 views each time. I've never seen that in my life. It's just like, what is happening? I thought it was a glitch or something. And yeah, that video is crazy. Like I've had people run into me, and I mean, I'm not really in the video. There's like a few random parts where I'm in that one. It was more of just the focus was on the tutorial to build the tank in the background and everything. But like people would be like, hey man, I loved your video. Like just random people at like reptile shows. That was like, because of that video, I started getting random people coming up to me like, I watched your tutorial on how to build a natural vivarium, was amazing. And yeah, that was definitely the first video I've really had like blow up. Besides some like random video I filmed of a bug ages ago, but that one was like the big one, the first big one.
I can't wait to see that happen on my channel, man. Just
yeah.
like it's glitching in the video, just keeps shooting up and up and up.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Now I got to talk about collabs, man, because I feel like you've collab. I've seen that you collab with Emmeline. She's super dope.
Yeah.
And I know y'all still on lockdown. He said y'all don't open y'all country back up for a while. But you know, I'm wondering who are some of your future collabs that you want to collab with. And I will say shout out to Wiccan's Wicked Reptiles and Tiki Geckos. I feel like them will be two dope people that I would love to see you collab with. But who are some of your, you know, your future ideas that you might want to do some collabs with?
I mean, like realistically right now, while the situation is what it is with the pandemic, I guess. I mean, you guys are lucky; it's really died down over there, but it's a lot better here too. But realistically, the ones I could see happening sooner, definitely would be Adam, like Wiccan's Wicked Reptiles, and we've actually talked about it. I think he mentioned that too, just in brief. Thought about like maybe doing some herping videos, because right now technically we're not supposed to actually go into each other's houses still with the rules. So we're thinking we could do something outside because that's permitted. Mike Taitula as well is a good friend. So he's not that far either. He's like an hour and a half away from me.
Right.
And I mean, as soon as I can venture into the States, there are a bunch of people I'd love to connect with and collaborate with. I mean, it's ambitious. I haven't really had a chance to connect with some of those creators, but I know I'd definitely love to do something with, like Snake Discovery. I love the content. It's very authentic and incredibly informative and educational. So it would be super nice. Clint's Reptiles, even pretty cool content. Dave Hoffman would be cool. I should be like, hey, Dave, want to go on a trip somewhere? I don't know. He's probably too. He has the way he does his things. I don't know, but it'd be cool to join him on a journey. I mean, even Brian Barchak would be cool. I'd love to go down and visit Will. Like, there are a bunch of people. I really love the work that Ty Park does. So, I mean, I don't know if he's actually started his YouTube channel. I know at one point he said he wanted to, but it would be cool to go visit his park and see what Iguana Land's all about too. And yeah, there's just like a bunch of not plans, but like I guess aspirations or goals I would have with interesting people to collaborate with.
Right. Now, with you having so many animals and so many videos on YouTube, I feel like you have a lot of knowledge. And I'm wondering, are you self-taught, or did you have like a mentor that kind of showed you a lot about the stuff that you know?
Yeah. So I don't personally want to call it self-taught. Like, I definitely know that there's a place for that if people just research stuff online or through literature. And I definitely do a lot of that as well. But I really pride myself in trying to be an active member of the herpetological community. So I think one of the greatest tools we can use is connecting with others and learning from each other. You know, it doesn't always take years and years of experience to learn something that maybe someone else who has that doesn't know. And so I think we always have a really immense opportunity to share and learn from each other. So I'm on a lot of Facebook groups that are like species specific or genus specific, like the leaf-tailed gecko groups, the tree monitor groups, the leaf turtle groups, like all kinds of things. And I involve myself in those communities to like learn from other keepers and see what they're sharing and learning about. And I think that has been one of the major sources of information that I've taken from to kind of refine and constantly evolve and improve the way I keep my animals. But yeah, I mean, man, I've been keeping reptiles and amphibians since I was like 11. So as I've learned more and more, I've taken on the challenge of keeping more, I guess, sensitive and delicate or rare species. And yeah, that community, that sense of community, and sure, yeah, literature and care sheets have helped a lot, just like consolidating it all. And that's sort of how I've done it. No mentor, really.
Yeah. Now, I've been wanting to ask this, man.
Yeah.
Poison dart frogs.
Sure.
How fun is it keeping those, and really how deadly can they be?
Okay, well, first of all, I guess I'll address the second part. The poison dart frogs, they're actually harmless in captivity. Now, I mean, that's not to say there aren't wild-caught imports that'll come in, and I would imagine you'd want to kind of be a bit careful with them for the first few months, but the toxins that they're producing in their skin, they produce because of the specific diet that they're consuming in the wild. So I think it's like a combination of formic acid and all kinds of other substances that kind of create this cocktail blend that they produce that poison with in their skin. But because when we remove them or when we breed them in captivity, they're just eating fruit flies and springtails and things like that, they're actually not poisonous. So even the ones coming out of the wild to create new bloodlines or whatever, over time they lose that poison or toxicity as well because they're not eating those same prey items. So that's an interesting thing. Like, a lot of people are like, man, I'm staying away from those. They're scary, like they're poisonous, but they're not. I mean, it's important to also mention that you shouldn't touch them because it's really bad for their skin because of the oil in our hands and everything. So they're kind of a look at don't touch pet. But I'll share, yeah, they're super rewarding to keep. I love them. They're so interesting to watch. And for how small they are. Like they're pretty bold. Like I come over there, open the door, and they all hop to the front waiting because they know, like, once I start shaking that bag with the fruit flies, because I dust them in bag usually, they're already up waiting for the flies. Like they're smart little guys, and I love that they're diurnal too for the most part. Like, and that makes it really enjoyable because you can imagine tons of frog species are mostly nocturnal. So the fact that these guys are active during the day, it's nice because, you know, you're awake and you can enjoy them. They're also awake, hopping around. So, but I mean, I haven't been keeping dart frogs all that long. It's only been like a few years. I used to have some like 6 years ago that I don't have anymore. But yeah, no, they're super cool, man. And building those vivariums is like half the fun, if not more, right? Because they have such a small impact on the environment. If anything, they go around pooping and fertilizing plants. They're not breaking and damaging things because they're so light. So you get to put all this focus on creating this beautiful vivarium, and then those inhabitants go into it. So you just have these beautiful little like living gems that you can't believe are real hopping around in that tank. It's pretty cool. And I've seen that hobby, it's really picking up. A lot of people are interested in the dart frogs now.
I love that, man. You're making me think about getting a couple now.
There we go.
Now I gotta ask this, man, because
Yeah.
you know, of course, I'm into snakes. I love snakes.
Yeah.
You know, what snakes do you have?
So right now I only have one snake. It's Sierra, and she's my Mexican black king snake.
Nice.
I've thought about getting more. I'll be honest with you, I'm not gonna say yet, but I have some plans to get another snake soon. So you can look out for that on my channel.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Have you ever thought about getting into the venomous part of like the snake side?
Unfortunately not. I mean, like I've thought about it, like just thought about it, but it's not something that I feel I would do, let alone I can't actually. Where I live, I think there are very few places. I haven't really paid attention to the laws recently in Canada, but as far as I know, the majority of cities in my province wouldn't allow the keeping of venomous snakes. So it's not really even an option that some of you guys, depending where you are and what state, get to do in the US. So, but I mean, they're beautiful animals. I love watching people's content that keep them. They're really incredible if you respect them and everything.
Right. Now, you know, I think we all have our dream animals, stuff that we don't have in our collection yet. Now, so I got to ask if money wasn't an option and you could have any animal you wanted,
Yeah.
what's your dream animal for your collection?
Another tough question, man. I like, people that really watch me religiously know I've hinted at this and said it like on Instagram and stuff. Like, just having kept monitors now and seen how amazing they are, I think it would be super cool to keep some larger varanids. I think tree monitors are that perfect length where they're not too big, not too small kind of thing. But if money wasn't an issue, if space wasn't an issue, and I could really create like the perfect environment with those funds that gave the animal plenty of enrichment and everything, I think I would keep some Bell-phase lace monitors. At least one. I just think they're super cool animals. They're absolutely gorgeous, and I've seen a few folks down in Australia in particular, and the way they interact with them, you can just tell how smart the animal is, and it's really learned to trust their owner. And I think developing that sort of relationship with an animal that like that would just be super cool.
Right.
My issue is I always feel like I need to take it a step further and breed the animals, like becoming full circle experience. So I'm like, man, with an animal like that, it's like, I don't need two, but then I'm worried I'll be like, nah, I need to breed these now. So that could be an issue. But hey, if money's not the issue and I have the time to care for them properly, then maybe I'd get two. Who knows?
Right. I think a couple things that I want in my collection would be a green tree python and maybe a copperhead. But
cool. Yeah.
We'll see when we get there. Now, so you talk about a lot of breeding. So, you know, what are you breeding for? Do you kind of just breed for yourself to kind of keep them, Are you breeding kind of to sell to a couple people? What are what are some of your plans with your breeding?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a great question. So, I've mentioned this in the past too. Like, I usually, I don't know, I don't really consider myself like a breeder per se. For me, that definition kind of describes an individual who's breeding for the purpose of, like, I guess, income, and it's their job. But
Yeah.
for me, I really love the experience of breeding the animals, as I just said, kind of like it's like the full circle, coming around full circle. You're keeping the animals correctly, they're thriving, and that's like the fruit of that labor. It's like they're content and happy enough that now they've decided to procreate in your care, and it's super cool. Sorry, you can't hear that, eh?
Oh, you're fine.
Okay, one of the frogs is going to town calling. I was like, oh. I mean, we can't do anything about it, but yeah, no. So yeah, for me, it sort of depends because I keep a lot of rarer animals, or I guess animals that are at least underrepresented in captivity. So for those guys, yeah, I'm really breeding for myself. As I mentioned with the red-eyed croc skinks, like the babies I produce, I want to hold back as future breeders, so I have representation from each of those bloodlines to then cross with each other and use. I might do a bit of trading with anyone who has them too to get their bloodlines and things like that. But yeah, that's for me. I do keep a few animals like the crested geckos and the Leachianus, and by breeding those, I am selling their offspring because it helps offset the cost of everything I do. So it's like a really exciting and I guess enriching experience to be able to breed more animals, and I'm happy I get to share that experience too with my viewers. But yeah, like those offspring, I sell to other hobbyists to like I guess make some money to help fund everything as well, and make it more manageable. So did you want me to like mention some of the animals I'm breeding as well? Like I
Yes.
can,
Yes.
yeah. So I mean, like right now, this year, I have the satanic leaf-tailed geckos breeding, which is really exciting. I'm glad that they're kicking back into gear, and I have a bunch of pairs that have mated that I've seen, and I'm starting to get a bunch of eggs. I have the tokay geckos breeding, the red-eyed crocodile skinks breeding, the crested geckos breeding, and the giant Leachianus geckos, the New Caledonian giant geckos. So, and then I mean, also, how could I forget the Chinese crocodile lizards too? Hopefully, I mean, it seems to be going well. We've done a few ultrasounds, and they look like the follicles are more than just that. They're something developing in at least one of the females. So, oh, thanks so much. And
Man,
yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's going to be a very busy season. I can tell you that. Holy.
I I I am so jealous, man. I want to get into doing some of that stuff that you're doing, man. You over there just in Canada doing your thing, man. Now,
Thanks.
what do you remember your first reptile? And maybe it doesn't have to be when you were younger, but what was the first animal that excuse me. What was the first animal that just really kickstarted it for you? Excuse me.
Oh yeah, no worries. I don't know. I would say where I really developed my love for reptiles would probably be my bearded dragon Kovu. So if you're like a real old timer on the channel, when I was like a kid and back in grade 11 posting, yeah, I had a bearded dragon named Kovu, and that was my first actual reptile that I kept, and that was just really rewarding to be able to finally have a reptile. My parents let me, and keep her and show her on the channel too, which was kind of fun. But yeah, like they're stable. A lot of people keep bearded dragons. They're really cool, easy to keep animals. I mean, we're thankfully refining their care now over time, learning about how the temperatures need to be really hot and not overfeeding them and all that fun stuff. But yeah, they're she was really a big, how do I put it, like oil on the fire to really get that passion going. Prior to that, as a kid, I did have a few fire-bellied toads and a little rough-skin mute, which was cool too. And I definitely loved keeping those animals too. And I mean, yeah, they count as herps, so they were a lot of fun as well.
Right now, What do you feel like the ultimate goal of your, you know what, first we got the questions in the audience.
Sure, sure.
Postal Reptiles and saying this is a great discussion. Shout out to
Thank you.
Joe. He wants to know, do you have any right there?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Thanks for the question, man. I do not. I've kept them before, and I've actually bred them before. But at a certain point, I made a move across Canada, and I had to sort of rehome the majority of my larger Europlatus leaf-tailed geckos. So I decided to stick with the Fantasticus satanic leaf-tailed geckos because I could keep more of them in a smaller space. So the reason I chose them was because I really wanted to be systematic in my effort. Like, really, I wanted to do something important with the animals because they're so uncommon. So I decided rather than keeping, just like a pair or two of each to have more diversity, I would decide to regretfully rehome the bigger species that took up the most room to focus on having a larger group of the smaller guys with the space I had. So yeah, unfortunately I don't keep the Fims anymore, but they're so cool. Their eyes, their personality, the way they hunt, really cool geckos.
Right. Now, with you being, so big in the game, like what is like the ultimate goal of your channel? Do you just kind of want to keep going and just keep educating people? Do you want to kind of, get big and maybe even open up like a reptarium like Brian Barchek? What are some of your future goals? I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, thanks for calling me big. That's just very humbling, man. Like, people say that I'm terrible at taking the compliments, but like I guess it's the reality. Sure, like I'm very thankful to be where I'm at, but it's just very flattering. Thank you. But yeah, like some of the goals I have, I really want to be able to somehow. I've been thinking about how, but like tie in the importance of conservation. So I feel like that's something that doesn't always, I don't want to say there's like a clash between herpetoculture and like conservation, things like that, but I really want to show like the harmony between them, or at least use the love and passion we have for herpetoculture to somehow promote and even fund initiatives that strive to protect and preserve these animals in the wild. So with that, like financially permitting, and I guess COVID situation permitting, I'd love to get back to and be able to start doing more traveling and not only showcase what other really, I guess, great hobbyists are doing in their way that they indulge and express the hobby and what they're keeping and achieving with their animals, but seek out different initiatives around the world, hopefully, that are helping with the conservation of different reptiles. And hopefully, with that, using my incredible followers and audience, giving them the opportunity to learn about that. Maybe all of us together can contribute, whether it's financially or through awareness to those causes. So that's something I'd really love to do. Financially permitting, yeah, it would be super cool to maybe open up some type of public center. I haven't really given that too much thought. At the very least, as much as I love keeping animals in my own home, and I'd love to continue doing some of that, I would love to be at a point where I can keep more species and, maybe hire on some people to help with the care, maybe some of the filming even. And that's tricky if they're not well versed in the reptile world. And so I think a facility of some sort would be in order, because then it would allow for more space, because I'm kind of maxed out where I'm at right now. So, and I don't want to push it further. So yeah, those are, I mean, they're very ambitious goals, I think, but right now what I'm doing is working. So I think as a first step, I definitely love to be able to get out and at least showcase more hobbyists. I've done a bit of that prior to how the measures changed here with COVID, and it was really well received with the tours and stuff I did with different breeders. So doing that would be great, but eventually, yes, be able to get to travel more and tie in the conservation, see what the animals are doing in the wild and how they're doing.
You know something that I would like to see you do too?
Sure.
I feel like, when I watch your YouTube channel, you're one of the greats of taming, if that makes sense. Like a lot of your stuff, If I had, it will bite my fingers off. If I had an alligator skink, I wouldn't have any fingers. And you have these things walking up your arm and you're literally feeding them. So I feel like you would be, just dope at having like a class on how to tame certain animals that are a little more defensive.
Oh man, thanks. That's very kind of you. I
I feel
think you'd have your fingers. Don't worry, you'd be good.
like
You'd keep them. They're not too bad. No,
right
thanks.
now,
That's really nice of you to say. I mean, to be honest, just for the record, with a lot of those animals, like the tokays and the croc skinks, actually, I've made videos on how to sort of tame them. Now, I mean, I say it loosely. It's more like my experience, what I did that worked, and it's sort of like a bit of a classical conditioning sort of thing. But yeah, no, that would be cool. I actually love what's going on over at Nerd, and they do some of that cool stuff too with their taming as well, and it's pretty nice.
right
Their
now.
monitors.
Now, I love Nerd. Well, Nerd is some of my favorite channels. I've had a couple of them up on the channel.
Yeah, I saw.
Now with you, herping, I gotta ask, man, how fun was it going, to see your family in Vietnam? And please tell me you did a little bit of herping over there.
Yeah, so so when I went to Vietnam, I actually wasn't visiting family there. It was that my grandfather had this really strong desire to travel to Vietnam. And I guess he's part of some type of travel group that gets different offers. Like they live in Belgium. So he asked me if I would accompany him with this group that, and they were going to tour from, I guess, Ho Chi Minh City up to like Do Long and all kinds of different parts in the north and along the east of Vietnam. So I was like, oh yeah, 100%. I would be honored to accompany you. So we did all this traveling through the country, and the things we saw was just such a beautiful country, and the people are so hospitable and just very warm personalities. Unfortunately, because it was a tour, I didn't get to go off on my own rummaging around looking for critters. But I mean, I'll tell you one thing: there are house geckos on house geckos on house geckos over there. Like at night, they're just up in the sea on the ceilings. Every hotel, there's like just a light lit up at night, and they're all crowded around there waiting for bugs, right? So I mean, I saw plenty of those. I think at one point I heard some tokay geckos, which is cool, but I wish I found them. I never found them. I just heard them calling from my hotel in one of the cities. I was so bummed. I did find some kind of, one time we stopped just on the road. We were traveling through a jungle somewhere. It was like very dense, and we stopped at like a pit stop kind of some restaurant or I don't know what it was, but anyway, that's not important. So everybody got off the bus and they were going to the washroom. Of course, what I did was cross the road and went into the jungle to look for animals. So I remember lifting a log, and there was this little, I don't know, I really don't know, because I would have imagined it was a young animal, some kind of a gama or something. Like it was a little agama, and it was very quick, and I tried to take a picture and I wasn't able to, but yeah, and I saw some cool insects and fish. There were like gouramis and stuff swimming through canals. So, and we saw the what is it? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name. I made a video on it. It's a very endangered species, critically endangered species. Oh, the Delacores langor. That's it. It's a type of monkey that's that's from Vietnam, and they're very endangered. So we were very blessed to actually see these in the wild, one of the troops, if you will, or of these monkeys. So, but that was a sweet trip, man. And that's one of the things that's like inspiring me to get out there and travel more. Like I've been very blessed in my life to get to travel to many parts of the world, but just seeing how I could apply it to the channel and educating and sharing with the audience is like super exciting. It gets me really excited.
I love that. I love that. Now, I know I don't keep people too long, maybe 40 minutes to 40 to 45 minutes. I like to keep people, because I know people get busy. So I have one more question.
Yeah, no worries.
I like to ask everybody this. So with all the geckos and smaller animals that you got, how much time do you think you spend a week chasing escaped animals?
Chasing escaped animals?
Yeah.
Oh man, 0.
I know that's right. You said nothing gets out.
No, I mean, okay, fine. Like, the only thing that ever gets out right now is this guy. And it's not that he gets out, it's that when he's scared and I have both doors open and I'm trying to like work with them, because right now one of my big focuses is taming down this tree monitor, because he's, like I said, he's way more shy than the female in the other room. I'll put my hand out with silkworms, and we're getting to this point where he'll cautiously walk on for it. But then if I'm not careful, or I do something weird, like if I have an itch and I just scratch my back, like that arm moves quick, he's like, whoa, he like clicks in all of a sudden, and he's like, oh, and just bolts. And when he does that, if he bolts forward instead of backward, next thing you know, he's on the ground outside the tank, and he's running around the room, and I have to go and grab him and catch him quick. Lucky for me, there's no traction on the laminate flooring, so he's kind of skating a bit, and it helps. But man, they're fast when they're scared. Besides that though, nothing escapes, thankfully. I can think back, for the sake of answering the question fully, maybe like 15, 16 years ago, I remember when I still lived with my family, like as a student in high school. I feel so bad for my sister. She's basically arachnophobic, so you can guess what got out. I had a little tarantula. It's funny because when I tell the story, I'm confident it was a Neoholotheliense, which is a Trinidad olive. It's a dwarf tarantula. She describes it as, this big in her room, got out. I'm like, man, the thing maxes out at like 3-4 inches. Like, I'm telling her it was like this big. And yeah, so I accidentally left the lid off once. And that was the only time I've had something escape. But of course, it found its way into the arachnophobe's room and was on the floor, and she found it. And it's the one story I can share of something escaping. I felt so bad because she was terrified. But yeah, that's about it, man. I'm blessed that, not blessed, I mean, I guess it's a fortunate thing, but no, everything's locked down and organized here. No escapees allowed.
Well, first off, man, this was a fun interview for me. I really enjoyed it. I just want to tell you that I appreciate you coming on and blessing us with, some knowledge.
Oh, man.
So before I end my interviews, I always like to give shout outs, man, to the small reptile community I'm in. First off, make sure y'all go subscribe to Joe Shaloner, the owner of Venom-Proof Cages. Makes some really good cages, some of the best in the business. Make sure you subscribe to My Animal House, Iron Dog, Cold Blooded, Kurtwood, Prehistoric Companions, Doug's, Jamie's Reptile Corner, Venom Wonderful, Desert Wolf Armory. It's so many to name. Ball Python Love, Josue's, Not Lou, OSMR, Moon Over Miami, just everybody in the chat, D&G Reptiles. I appreciate Toby's Exotics, Dragon Whisperer, just all those people, great people in the community. I'm getting ready to play us out. Don't go nowhere. I want to thank you again backstage. I'm getting ready to play us out. Everybody in the chat, thank you for watching, man. This dude's a legend in the game. Reptiliaus.
Thank you so much, everybody. I just want to say thanks as well. It's really been a pleasure. And Derek, thanks so much for the questions. Super awesome questions. I got to say, I've had the pleasure of being on a few podcasts and other things, and I really love the specific, engaging questions you asked. It was a lot of fun to chat with you. And thanks to everybody for tuning in too. It was awesome.
I appreciate that. We're getting ready to play ourselves out, so don't go anywhere. I'm going to thank you backstage. Move.